Welcome, everyone. It's time for Cannabis News. I'm your host, Joe Klare. It's August 5th, 2019. Start of a new week here at the Marijuana Times. You can find us at marijuanatimes.org. A bunch of great articles there. Click the video tab to find this show as well. marijuanatimes.org. Today we're talking about cooking with cannabis, also medical marijuana. It's been cleared for sale in Louisiana. Does that mean medical marijuana patients in Louisiana will have access soon? Well, we'll see. Also, Kamala Harris called out for her drug war stance, or rather her drug warrior stance in the latest Democratic debate. All that's coming up. But first, of course, Cannabis News is brought to you by NatureSide. Nature-side.com and their organic, all-natural pesticides. Grow safe and poison-free. Don't use harmful chemicals. Don't use banned pesticides. Be regulatory compliant in the state that you're growing in. All of these things. I know it's a lot, but it can all be accomplished with NatureSide. Nature-side.com. Proud sponsor of Cannabis News. Thank you, NatureSide. This first story by Julia Granowitz at marijuanatimes.org. You can also find it linked in the description of this video, as are all stories that I talk about. A few things to know before cooking with cannabis. Now, obviously, if you have a dispensary or a retail shop nearby and you buy your edibles from there, you have the dosage, you have all the pertinent information. That's great. If you have like a magical butter machine or something like that, it's much easier. But if you're doing it old school, Julia has a pretty good article here telling you what to do. First of all, the obvious warnings about edibles. Don't fall for the this edible ain't working trap that a lot of people fall into. It's going to take you longer to feel the effects of an edible, so take a little bit, eat a little bit, and then wait a long time. Wait longer than you think you should. Keep an eye on the clock, because if time feels like it's moving slower or faster or whatever, you may not be able to keep track. And also, besides taking longer to kick in, the effects of an edible are going to last a lot longer than, say, vaping or smoking. She goes through the process of the decarbolization of cannabis and why that's needed. Also, she goes through the recipes for canna butter and canna oil. It's easier to make either canna butter or canna oil and then just plug and play with whatever recipe you're using. If you have something that calls for oil, you can plug in the canna oil where it says oil. If you have a recipe that calls for butter, instead of putting in butter, put in the canna butter. As I said, the article is linked in the description of this video. It's good stuff for those of you, especially want to make edibles at home. It's not just a matter, as Julia says, just taking some weed and throwing it in some butter or some brownie mix and voila, you have cannabis brownies. It doesn't work that way, and it won't work that way. So make sure you go check that out, marijuanatimes.org. A lot of good advice from Julia. Again, if you don't have, you have a retail shop or a medical marijuana dispensary or even a magical butter machine or something like that, if you're going old school, as they say, Julia tells you a way to do it. This next story from abcnews.go.com. Medical marijuana cleared for release to Louisiana patients. I know, if you've been in Louisiana, if you live in Louisiana, you've been waiting a bit. Medical marijuana is expected to start reaching select dispensaries in Louisiana this week, after the state agriculture department completed final testing and cleared therapeutic cannabis for release to patients. Agriculture Commissioner Mike Strain, Mike Strain, come on, announced Thursday evening that GB Science, as one of the two state-sanctioned growers, can begin shipping out the product to Louisiana's registered dispensaries. Strain thanked, quote, everyone who has worked tirelessly from inception through production and testing to make this a reality. John Davis, GB Science's Louisiana president, told the Associated Press that the company is coordinating with the dispensaries to start delivering medical marijuana in the state on Tuesday. I can't tell you how excited we are for patients, Davis said. Obviously, the normal caveats for new programs, supply is going to be limited, so there's going to be shortages, there's going to be high prices, things of that nature. There's only 2 allowed growers through the colleges in Louisiana, so supply is going to be restricted. But there is movement in Louisiana, however slow it is movement nonetheless for patients in Louisiana. Hopefully they will be able to start taking advantage. There's a long list of diseases and disorders that qualify in Louisiana, including cancer, seizure disorders, epilepsy, glaucoma, post-traumatic stress disorder, and Parkinson's disease, among others. So if you live in Louisiana, it is time. It will access, be forthcoming soon. That remains to be seen. Like I said, expect shortages, high prices, things like that. The things you see In every other state, when medical marijuana or retail sales come online, especially being restricted to 2 growers, you're going to see a lot of shortage and high prices problems. To begin with, in Louisiana, this last story from RollingStone.com, Kamala Harris is being taken to task for her role in the drug war. If you saw the Democratic debate the other night, one particularly brutal moment, Senator Tulsi Gabbard took aim at Senator Kamala Harris, former California Attorney General, who is also widely considered one of the leading candidates in the race. She attacked Harris for her prosecutorial record and accusing her of blocking evidence that could have potentially freed a man from death row. Gabbard particularly zeroed in on Harris's record of drug-related offenses. Quote, she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana, Gabbard said, referring to an interview Harris gave to the Breakfast Club in which she joked about smoking pot in college. As I've said many times before, and obviously Kamala Harris is one of those people that's late to the marijuana law reform movement when she was a prosecutor in California. She was against Prop 19 in 2010. She prosecuted a lot of marijuana cases, as they pointed out. She was not pro-marijuana as Attorney General in California. Obviously, as a Democratic candidate for president, she's realized that stance is kind of unpopular, especially with so many Democratic candidates being so vocal about marijuana law reform, people like Elizabeth Warren and Senator Cory Booker and Senator Warren. So she's kind of switched. As I said many times before, if you're late to the marijuana law reform movement, that's fine with me. Better late than never. We'll take all the support we can get. Now, obviously, with Kamala Harris, if what she's saying now, if she becomes president, if she carries that into being president and follows through on these things, on these platforms, on these promises, then that's fine. If she reverts back to the way she was as Attorney General of California, that's not fine. But I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I mean, maybe she's seen the error of her ways. A lot of people have on both sides of the aisle. So I'm hoping that she is a permanent ally for the marijuana law reform movement. Even if she loses the presidency or doesn't get the nomination or whatever, that she continues on this path. Because, like as I've said, if you're late, that's fine. Just get on board. Get on the bus. However late you are, there's still room on the bus for marijuana law reform. Hop on. Now, she can be criticized. Obviously, she will be. People can be cynical about whether or not she's going to follow through with a lot of these things if she does become president. That's all the stuff that comes with politics. But, you know, I welcome her to the fold. Do I wish she would have, come on board earlier? Of course. Everybody was late to the game. I wish they would have come on board earlier. But they're here now, and as long as she follows through and continues to fight for marijuana law reform, either as president or in the Senate, wherever she ends up, then that's good with me. Fight the good fight. And she's going to get hammered, and she deserves to get hammered. She's got to take it and fight back and explain why she's changed her mind and what's gone into it and all that. That's what campaigns are for. It's not my, it's above my pay grade quite a bit. Thank you, everyone, for checking out Cannabis News. Excuse me. Be here all week, 5 days a week. We're on the Marijuana Times, of course, marijuanatimes.org. You can search the Marijuana Times on YouTube and Vimeo for the videos, Apple Podcasts for the audio version of the show. Thank you to Nature Side, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides. Thank all of you for watching and listening today. We'll see you next time right here on Cannabis News.